Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us here at Indigo Moon. You know, everyone is different in the way that we handle our problems or whatever our sensitive situations are going to be very different. Sometimes people will assume that you should handle things one way when that's not exactly where your heart is at that time. You know, my grandfather was a minister in Harlem years ago. He even moved to South Carolina and was a minister there as well. But I have to say, sometimes we, as I stated, we don't know how we're going to handle certain situations. But I have to say that he was a brave man in the way in which he handled this subject. Now, there was a bit of a kerfuffle in the church because rumors started about him having children out of wedlock. He was married to my grandmother and he'd already had 7 children. And there were rumors circulating about him having children with the Sunday school teacher. And of course, a meeting had to be had. So they called him up to the podium and they asked him, "Are those children your children?" And he said, "I will not deny my children." You know, there's a lot of men who would have said, "You know what, they're not mine," and would have carried on the lie, but he didn't. He was brave enough to say, "You know what? Now I know maybe he didn't handle it the best way at first, but you have to meet people where they are sometimes." And for him to say, "Those are my children, and I will not deny my children," I think he deserves some credit for that. Because there's a lot of men who have children, they don't step up to the podium. Some of them will deny their children, and some will stand up and say, "You know what? It's time that I become the father that I need to be." And when he took that moment with all eyes on him, he knew that the church would split up after that. But he said, right is right and wrong is wrong. You know? And I'm sure when you love, sometimes you just never know who you're going to fall in love with. Sometimes things are circumstantial. But at the end of the day, when your children need you, are you there? And he stepped up at that moment and he realized that he had to make certain choices that perhaps were harder for him to make early on. But sometimes when we're faced with different dilemmas, different circumstances, different challenges, we have to step up and we have to say, "Okay, I'm going to do what is right." And he stepped up and he made what was something that may have been embarrassing because, of course, he didn't handle it the best way early on. And of course, that son looks like him and walks like him as well. So it's important that we not judge everyone and be so hard on other people, because sometimes we have to meet them where they are and to work with them. Now, of course, you know, he had a lot of challenges after that where he had to, you know, try to comfort his wife and be supportive of his children. And even his children had to step up and try to be there for him and through the process. That's what family does. Sometimes family has to make certain stances, sometimes they have to do certain things in regards to being supportive of each other, you know. And during the holidays especially, I'm bringing this up because during the holidays, sometimes we're met with our family members and they can be challenging towards us as well as we can be a challenge to them. Let us try to be more patient and maybe work your way through the situation, okay? Rome wasn't built in a day, and sometimes it's going to take time for these things to heal. But it's important that we try to heal our circumstances, okay? So thank you so much for joining us here at Indigo Moon, where it's important that we just try to heal. We're all going through something, and we're all striving and trying to get through even the self-love journey, because some days we have harder times than others. But let us put our best foot forward and strive at just trying to be great. Thank you so much for joining us here at Indigo Moon. Have a lovely day.